Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that I've been doing in the background, which is 3D printing. Now I have a 3D printer, I feel like I've got a whole new addiction combined with Airsoft, and I've just been printing like non-stop. So I thought actually let's do a quick update video of just some of the stuff that I've printed with my 3D printer, which are Airsoft related. And the problem is you keep going through the different websites, Cults 3D, Yegi, all of these places, keep finding new parts, and I'm like, oh, that might be cool, so I just hit print. Now, it's not expensive. I have to say, like, the spool, which is like a kilogram of plastic, effectively, like, it's about $20 to $30. So you can print some stuff for not very much money, which is kind of awesome. But I thought, you know what, I'll go through some of the stuff that I've printed. I've got it here in front of me, and I'll pop it up, and then we can talk about why I printed it. And actually I've got another video that I'm going to do very shortly, which is going to be one of the commentary videos, but I'm actually going to do a commentary of time-lapse sped up videos of the 3D printing going on. So you can see the 3D print actually coming up, and I'll talk through why I printed stuff. But I actually, just to start off with, had to just remove this. As you can see here, there's a bit of filament stuck in the top here. I already broke one of the printer nozzles, and I think it's because I used carbon fiber reinforced PLA. Now there's a couple of things here I've printed with that, but it is more brittle, and apparently that can happen. So that's your PSA announcement for today, is be careful if you're going to use carbon fiber. Right, so let's start off with this, which was one of the first things I printed. Now, this is a little foregrip. It's an MLock foregrip. This probably took about 25-30 minutes to print. If any of these things in the video as well, guys, you want to see, put down a comment below and I'll try and get the link to it and print it and send it to you. This file was actually on Bamboo Lab. It was free. These also came with potential like little inserts that you could do on here. In fact, I think what I ended up doing is putting it, no, I didn't. I'm thinking I actually ended up putting one of these on one of my other replicas, and I'm trying to think which one it was. But these actually, you can print it off in one piece. It has like the little built-in MLock here. You can get an idea of like the quality when I put it up close. It's a little bit plasticky on the bottom. That's just where it rested on the heat pad. So I could just easily sand that very quickly. But you can see, like, you can't see the lines particularly well, like bad. Like it's pretty clear looking. This was printed in standard PLA, so it's not your carbon fiber PLA. And you can also print on a second plate or on the same plate. It'll just take longer. Little pads which go in here, and you can just stick those on. You can print MLock screws to go in, but I decided, you know what, I had some extra ones laying around. So the replica I put them on, I just actually used proper MLock screws. Seems great. Has been working really well. Had no issues with it on that one so far. But that was one of the ones I printed. Cost of this was probably around $2 maybe in plastic. Took about 25 minutes. Next thing I printed was actually this. So I actually just printed this in grey PLA just because I wanted to check it out and see, you know, what the grey looked like. I don't think I would print these again, but this basically was a file, and again I got this for free, to print the outer skin for a Tokyo Marui MWS magazine. So this will, if you remove the metal, take out the inner from the metal Stanag mags for the MWS, you can put this on and turn it into a PMag. Now, reason I printed this actually was not to use it as a skin. I don't really have many of the MWS mags, like the standard ones. I've got a lot of the Guns Modify Evo mags, which look like this, to be honest, which is quite funny that I then printed this. But my idea with this was actually to use it just as a like dummy mag, just to practice reloads with. It doesn't have a base on it because you need the base plate to put there, but it's literally just a light mag that I was like, you know what, I can do the lock here, or give the mag release and the mag's going to lock in place, and then I could just print off 3 or 4 of these and just, you know, play around on the sofa just doing reloads. It doesn't matter if I drop it. It's all about, you know, it's not the right weight, but it's all about muscle memory and just like where is the location of the magwell as I'm reloading. Weirdly, this actually doesn't fit, or it's not sitting in the magwell properly. If I show you here, I've got my MWS, and for some reason, I think I could play around with it and sand this down, but for some reason this is very tight going in and it's just not actually sitting in place. So I don't know if the print size file is wrong with this. but I would have to play around with it. I think maybe just like shaving down some of these corners. What I would actually do is get this very close to where the Guns Modify mag is and just see what the differences are. But I think some of these corners are just too tight to get in there. Like I could mash that in, and actually that did just lock in place. But like, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it yet. Or if you're thinking, hey, I want that file, don't necessarily go for that one. So that I printed as well. We'll put these off to one side. Next thing I've printed was actually this. So for my MP9, which I now have, spoiler alert, I've got another 3D printed suppressor on here, which I'll talk about in a second. But I printed this, which basically is an MP9 adapter. So it would take the MP9 end of that barrel, and it would basically put a 14mm counterclockwise thread there. So that meant that I could basically use regular suppressors on here. It's great and it fits and it rotates. It just doesn't lock in place. So I think it could work, and I could find a way to make it lock in place. But this definitely, when I printed it and I put it on, I was like, I don't really like the look of it, putting a regular suppressor on the end of an MP9. I would rather do an MP9 style suppressor, and I printed something else. But that's another one, probably cost about $1 to print that, if not less. This one, I don't know, again, probably like $2, $3 to print it. Like, it barely takes anything off the roll, and like the roll is like $20 for a standard PLA, so that's where that is. Next one that I printed was this. So this is one of the GoPro mounts that goes into one of those Wilcox NVG mounts. So if you use a helmet, or like a tactical helmet to play airsoft in, and you have that mount right there that you're not using, you basically can just insert this into that mount. It's got like a little spring here, which is built in. It's printed in one piece. I didn't have to assemble any of these. And basically that piece is just compressing. So that would just hook it in place. If I want to release it, I just use this little tab here, push this up, seat it in. And that means that I've got that location there for the GoPro to hang down, or my 360 camera, or whatever camera you're putting on there. I like this design a lot more. You can get the ones which just have this loop attached to the plate, and they're fine. But what I find is you have to almost like tilt up the camera looking out there. With this, you can have it there and you can literally rotate it so it's facing down, and you're getting that FPV kind of look, and it's much more like tucked in and easy. So these ones are great. This looks like it works really well. I've bought these previously. I think you can get them on Amazon. But again, when you receive them, someone's just 3D printed it and then sent it to you. I had a little bit of like stringing that went on under here. It wouldn't matter at all. Like, it's not going to do anything to it. And I probably should have printed this with supports, where you can just hit a file, like hit a button on the file as you're going through and about to send it to the printer. And it probably would have just put some supports there, because I think what's happened there is as that's printed the overhang, there's been like no support. So it's just given way slightly. But all I would need is a regular just screw head, and then, the bit that you have for your GoPro, which just mounts it. So again, that's like $1, $2. If you think I should start selling any of this stuff as well, guys, definitely let me know, because I think the shipping is going to be really annoying, but other than that, it should be good. This is one of the next things I printed, which, if you've seen the short, or actually like my little clip on my MP9 build, I saw this and it was like the world's most comfortable foregrip. And I was looking for a foregrip for this guy. And this looked kind of cool and different, and the MP9 Foregrip is a bit funky, like different looking, and so I was like, oh, you know what, I might go for that. So I printed it, and as it started printing and coming up, I did not realize how big it was, and it's huge. Like, it's a big boy. It's fully hollow. You print it. It doesn't actually need any tools, so you can print it with these pins that are made of plastic as well, just 3D printed. So those pop in there. And so it's going to hold it in place. Like, I presume it's not the same as screwing something in like you would do normally. But to be honest, they're really solid. And when I had it in, I haven't played with gameplay, but it was not moving at all. So maybe that is a good element to it, or a bad element. We'll work that out over time if I use it. Had a little plug in there so you can store stuff in here. There's actually a space to put CR123A batteries in. And the one thing I would say is this thing is really comfortable. Like, it's big, and I've got big hands, so that might like vary kind of what it is. But in terms of just a grip on here, It's a really, really nice thing to grab. And actually, as a foregrip on something like that, I actually really like it on there. I just think it looks absolutely ridiculous. So again, that's probably another $2-3. That was probably an hour print, that one. But again, you can see the lines on this. This was standard PLA, and you can see the lines, but like really, when you pick this thing up and when you're seeing it close in, you could be like, yes, it is 3D printed, but really there's no like negative to that. You're just like, oh, okay, this is a very, very good 3D print. So that's another one that I printed. This is actually one of the other ones, which I'm gonna do a video on an install, but this is a front rail for a Sega 12K. Now I've got a Sega 12K, I've actually got two of them. I've got one that I kind of half broke, and then I bought a new one and I redid it. So the one that I've half broke just doesn't have the catch which does the bolt lock. You know, not really bolt lock, but basically detect the empty mag, which means that it's going to get the like AK click of death kind of sound. So that really annoyed me that I kind of lost that. So I've decided to basically turn that into just an HPA Sega and just kind of run it into the ground. I want to change out the actual hand grip on it. And so I basically printed this. It's super light. This one's carbon fiber. It says MLock here. I think I actually paid for this. It was about €10, maybe €7, $10 to pay for it. And then now I've got the file. I can print it as much as I want. This took, I think, about an hour and a half to print. Needed like supports in it. So I ripped all of those out and you can see some slight little marks just where that was. But really this thing is really good. It's got the like locking nut, so that's going to go onto the body. And then I'm going to need the screws, which you're often going to need in 3D printing, but I'm going to need the screws just to put that in place. And I'm really excited to do this. My other Sega 12 has got a similar rail on it, and I really like that rail. So this is why when I saw this, I was like, this is just a very, very solid thing to put on there. And I know I'm going to like the actual like dimensions of it. But the other one's very heavy. And so if I like this enough on the HPA tapped one, HPA adapted one, then I am probably going to put one of these on my other Sega 12K as well. So that is something, you can see the MLock sign there, but this one's a carbon fiber. This is probably what ended up breaking the nozzle or blocking it, which I can probably still fix, but we'll work that out. Next thing that I printed was this bag of goodies. Now, I've just recorded a video, you may well have seen it, but I found that I wanted to mount or create a holster for my Ace Tech Volcano, the 40mm grenade launcher. That basically was the way to do it that I worked out, was to use the Novridge Novridge Universal holster. This is a copy of that. So it's not exactly the same, but it's the same concept, and you can print the actual parts to it. The problem is you need springs for it. I don't think it's going to work as well, so I actually ended up just buying a Novridge open holster one, universal holster, and using that. But I will do a video where I'm going to build this out in the different parts that I have for it, and I will do a comparison like for like and see what that is, show you what it is and if it's worth. The problem is I think this cost it was basically cost like probably like $4 a filament. The actual file was free, which is great. I can print as many of these, which actually go into the Novridge Universal holster as well, which is awesome. So that's the real good bit, is I can print these and just not have to buy like little $20 like attachments. The actual Novridge like Universal holster is $27. And this thing was free, $4 a filament, but the problem is I had to buy, according to the person who made the file, one of these, which is an AEP mag, to get the spring out of it to actually use that spring in there. So this was like $25 and the actual holster's $27. So when I thought about it, I'm like, this actually doesn't make financial sense to do it, and it's gonna come out probably with a worse product. So that's gonna be a video, but I did print all of those parts. You can see there's other parts in here that are for that. So that was something that I printed, and that will be a future video, but that was something that, you know, it's one of those ones where I printed it and it was a great idea and I'm like, wow, this is going to be awesome. When it actually push comes to shove, it didn't end up that great. Next thing actually I printed was this. Now this basically, you can see on the back, it's actually ugly here. This came about when I started getting that blockage in there, so I could really easily reprint this and make it a lot cleaner. But this basically sits over a QLS fork, so one of the Safariland little QLS forks. The problem is the Novrich holster in this one, they have this circular mount, which is awesome, but it meant that I could not use the actual Ace-Tech or mount the Novrich holster with my Ace-Tech Volcano onto my QLS system. I want to run it as a secondary. I want to be able to switch out from that to a pistol. And so everything I have is on the QLS system. So what this does is this basically sits in place onto a QLS fork and then allows it to have like an adapter effectively to mount those things. So great little thing. It probably took about 5 minutes to print this. Cost nothing because it cost €1 because someone had put the file up for sale for €1. But I thought, you know what, it's good to have. I actually didn't end up using it because I found another file, which I don't have it right here, but it was a QLS fork which had this already molded into it. So I wouldn't be having to like attach to attach to attach. I just had that fork. I was a little bit worried that the quality of the fork wouldn't be as good because it isn't Safariland QLS, but actually it's been very good so far. If you haven't watched that video, go and watch it, like how I mount my Ace-Tech Volcano. But I printed this one, and it's another one of those things where I'll put it onto the side, the file, and I'll be like, hey, if it's something I need in the future, just to be able to like create one of these or put one of these on a QLS, I can do it. But I actually now have the file that does that fork, so you know, might not need that at all. Next thing I've actually printed is I haven't done a video on this review yet, but I managed to get the Flashhider off this PPK-20 that Lancer Tactical sent me. It was horrible and ugly. It actually wasn't that hard to get the orange Flashhider off. I was quite worried because it definitely looked like it was glued in the unboxing video that I did. And it was glued, but it wasn't that they'd done the grub screw and then glued it. It was just glue. So I kind of like got some tweezers, started picking around at the glue. I was like, I don't think there's a grub screw under this. So I just got some pliers, some of these bad boys, put them around the edge and then rotated it in a clockwise fashion because it's a counterclockwise thread. And it came off pretty easily. So I'd already printed this, but I was just looking at different like flash hiders that you can find. I printed this one in carbon fiber, but you can see like it's super intricate. And when I saw it, I was like, I think that's gonna fit what this is pretty well. I think it's gonna look pretty good on the PPK-20. I don't know if you agree, and it's definitely not like Milsim-esque-ish. I mean, I'm sure there might be a flash hider that looks like this, but I do think it looks quite cool on this. So I printed that. It actually has a little bit of the like plasticky bed there, just where it sat, and it printed up. This took about 20 minutes and literally was in one finish. Like I'm always surprised by how it can like print and make these holes in it without messing anything up. But I can easily just take a sander and just sand that, just make it matte like the rest of it. But I think that fits really well. So I'm quite excited to see how this build ends up. But the other thing that I might end up putting on here is a suppressor. And so I again found a free file on Bamboo Lab, and it showed these suppressors. And this thing is really, really cool. Like, I don't know, again, I want to show you the quality of it kind of close up, but that is basically how this thing is. Like it's super nice. And I think what some 3D printers are very clever at doing when they design stuff is this kind of texture masks any of the lines that are there. This probably took about an hour to print, this actual suppressor, but it printed an end cap here, and there's about 3 different options of end cap, so I could have gone for some different ones. Again, there's a couple of options actually of the thread to go on the 14mm counterclockwise barrel. I think you can get a clockwise one as well. It's big enough where I could put a tracer unit in there, a small one, you can see there, or some baffles or whatever I wanted to do. But if you're thinking like, oh, I just want a suppressor, you know, I want something to look cool, there's a ton of them out there to find. And this one had just been downloaded a lot of times, and a lot of people had very good stuff to say about it. And I have to say, I also think that this would look very good on the PPK-20. So I might switch out this for that, might put the suppressor in it when I play indoors. Put the tracer in it when I play indoors with it. But that was really, really cool. And they actually have 3 other different sizes. So I printed another one of that size. I haven't printed the end caps for this yet, but I can literally just drop a couple of these onto one plate, go to bed, hit print, and it does it. I think this suppressor with these 2 ends took about 2 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and probably cost about $3 in terms of like filament. So when I'm like thinking like, oh, okay, I'm really addicted to buying stuff for Airsoft, and I'll go online, I'll look up stuff, I'll then end up buying it, and then you're paying for shipping, you're paying for tax, you're paying all of that stuff. And instead of that, I can go to bed one night, get excited. It's not like a package arrives at the door and you're doing an unboxing and an opening, but it's kind of better at the moment. I can go downstairs, or I can check on my phone, look at the camera and be like, hey, this is printing. And it's pretty awesome. I'll show you now actually quickly. Like I'm actually printing something for my son, which is, this is a little robot that this thing's printing right now. So I'm printing it in basically glow in the dark color. It's now changing the filament. It's printing in glow in the dark color. This has got another, what are we looking at? Another hour and 14 minutes till it's done. And then it's literally gonna be done. My kid's gonna be super happy. He's gonna go to bed with it tonight. He's gonna have a great time, probably shining his flashlight in it. But I literally am just sitting here as that's happening. I really love 3D printing in general, but in Airsoft it's pretty cool. Next one that I have done is this, which is a Sega 12 SBS rail. This again I did in black carbon fiber. Like the quality you can see is pretty great. It's very, very solid. This actually prints in 2 pieces, but I printed it on the same plate at the same time. This was a file that I bought for about, I think maybe $12. I cannot find anyone who does an aftermarket Sega 12 SBS like rail. It seems that no company's doing it in metal in any way. The only way that I could find to do it was this. And so I actually have one of these that I did in a previous video. I installed it on my Sega 12 SBS. If you want to go and see that video, there's a lot of start and stops where I'm like coming up with issues. But I reprinted it in the carbon fiber model because I think that that's just better. It's a stronger thing to do. What I will need to do is just file this down slightly, which is very easy to do. And if I mess it up, I just print another one, and then I'll have to just like get my Dremel and cut a little hole in there where I've put my top rail. Like I've got an aftermarket top rail with a Picatinny on it. And so that just needs to be moved so that I can fit that on there. But this again, probably $3 or $4 in terms of the actual PLA that's it's made from. This took about 2.5 hours maybe. This had a ton of supports on it. So as it kind of printed, there's a load of supports. They all popped out super easily. Like you can see that this is just clicks together, super snug, very, very solid in the hand and super lightweight. So I'm going to probably switch out the one that I've got on there for this one, just because it's the carbon fiber version, maybe tidy it up a little bit, doing a bit nicer than the other one where I kind of rushed it for the video. But again, another one, you know, if someone has a Sega 12 SBS who's out there, he's like, hey, I'll pay you some money for you to print one and send it to me. Let me know, because I can maybe work that out. You know, that might be a side business. Is like, hey, I'll show you the 3D prints I'm doing. If you want me to 3D print you something, you pay the shipping and pay me a couple of dollars extra than the PLA, and I'll do it for you. Maybe that's a member's perk. What do you think about that? I think that could be quite cool. Next, what else have we done? Okay, so I think the last thing that I'm going to talk about, the last 2 things, I've done a video on this if you haven't watched it yet. This is my MP9 that I'm building out, and there's 2 pieces on here that are 3D printed. I wonder if you can guess what they are. This is the rail that the vertical foregrip that I put on here instead of this. When I printed this and I realized how big it was, I was like, okay, well that's far too big, so let me make something a bit smaller. I actually don't think I like the size of it or how it makes it feel in my hand as much, but it is very cool. Like it's printed with all this like stippling on it. I did this one in carbon fiber, so you can tell it's a bit more matte. This just has your standard holes here, where I just need to put a nut in there and a screw right through, and I'll secure that in place. It is very solid at the moment. I just haven't done that yet. And then I also printed this, which is the MP9 Suppressor. Again, printed that one, didn't really like it. If I was buying those online, like I'd buy it, it would come and I'd be like, damn, I wish I hadn't bought that. I wasted money and then I've done it. With this, it's like, oh, that cost $2 and I'll just keep it and give it to a friend because it's not quite what I want. And then I almost know from doing that I can like find something else that does it better. So I'm really happy with this as well. This also has space in it to put a tracer unit in there. So it's now taken my MP9 from this. I've got the Spec Precision EOTech replica they sent me to review. And then I've got Boom Boom. I've just stuck those on the front, and I've basically taken my boring old MP9 and turned it into this. One issue which I mentioned in that video is I can't close the actual stock into its clicked in position because this is getting in the way here. So I might, or I could if I was good enough, edit the file and get like a little gap printed here or removed before I printed it again. I'll probably will just get a Dremel and just see if I can just like slightly nudge that so that it's gonna just allow me to click that in. But again, if I mess it up, I can just print another one. All right, guys, I think that is it. I'm just trying to think. There are a couple of other things that I have printed, but I've got them elsewhere, and I will do other videos on those as well. I also will be doing, as I said, that like time lapse. So I'm going to show you all of these just print in like sped up motion. I'll do my little like, face in the corner and I'll talk them through so, you guys can get an idea or some like basis to what it is. I'll show you one thing I have 3D printed, which is mental. And this probably took around, probably around 20 hours to do total. But it's this, which is pretty awesome, I think you'll agree. My kid is obsessed with Spider-Man, and so this is printed in multiple parts. You just need to get literally from Amazon the magnets, which cost I think like $4 or $5 for like 50 of them. I just put these on here. These all printed in separate parts, but I literally can just put this on. Probably can't hear me right now. This goes on the back, if my hair doesn't stick out the top like that. And then I can just put these in. And that was all made from 3D printing. So that is not Airsoft related unless we do some kind of like Spider-Man themed Airsoft event. But I just thought that was really, really cool that I was able to just do that and create it out of nothing or out of like plastic that was put there. So there's tons of other stuff that I'm going to do, guys, in terms of like 3D printing for Airsoft. If there's anything that you think, hey, if you could make this or just try it out, let me know. It's great content for the channel, so I'm more than happy to do it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this and it was entertaining and insightful. I will see you very soon on the next video, which will probably be tomorrow because it always is. And have a great day. Goodbye.